a lot of people discount their own personal history or what's happened to them. They think, well, it's not interesting enough. And if I tell my story and I compare it to Maryam's, well, there's no contest. That's not really true. But you can find a story and a lesson in the most mundane situations. We've all experienced, I think, at one time or another, disappointment, heartbreak, redemption, resilience. We've displayed it, learning from our mistakes. In some way, shape, or form, we all have a story. In fact, I'd say.
Hello, Scott.
Hello, Patricia.
How are you today?
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you.
Yes, so am I. Thank you so much for joining me on the Break Time with Patty show. This talk is long overdue, Scott. Dear friend, wherever you are, Scott and I met through social media. I'm not even sure how he came across my content, and I connected shortly after I launched my first YouTube channel in August 2021. Actually, how did you find me, Scott?
It was either through Facebook or I think it was Facebook. I saw your journey and I followed it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. There you go. All right. So Scott has played a mentor role for me since the very start of my journey, always encouraging me and sharing so much helpful content and evaluating my messages before I went into contests or whatever. He made me realize how amazing Toastmasters was as an organization where complete strangers want to help you just for the sake of helping you. I had never really lived that, so it was amazing. Let me introduce Scott McLaughlin to you right away. Number one, Scott is a master communicator and a coach. He has been studying and practicing the art of public speaking and storytelling for 2 decades. He originally joined Toastmasters to become a more effective communicator to help him as a trainer, but he found that Toastmasters had much more to offer beyond public speaking. Number two, Scott is also a speaking mindset mentor. Over the years, he has mentored many individuals on their Toastmasters journey. He has some interesting ideas when it comes to mentoring and club promotion and has collected a mass of resources beyond Toastmasters. In 2020-2021, Scott was recognized as Club President of the Year. He believes Toastmasters promotes and fosters the growth mindset. Anyone can succeed in the program. The only question is how much they want it and are willing to get out of their own way. Yes. Number three, finally, he's also the host of the Table of Mentors podcast by his club, Tunis Toastmasters, where he has insightful conversations with wonderful humans. By the way, in all humility, he's already interviewed me on his show. So if you have not watched it yet, here's the link. Now, I was at his mercy, and now he's at my mercy for this conversation. All right, I've talked enough. Let's get started.
Okay.
Scott, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself as a little boy and a teenager? What was it like to be in his shoes?
Wow. When I was a small child, I was a walking, talking disaster. I said anything that popped in my mind. I was always saying the wrong thing, always did the wrong thing. And I think a lot of times it was either to get attention or to make people laugh, one way or the other. My mother, in an attempt to be a protective mother, her idea of being protective was to keep us in front of a television screen all the time inside the house. So I think that kind of stunted me mature-wise. I wasn't as mature as some of my other friends. I was socially behind. My hand-eye coordination was not as good as other kids, so I was lousy in sports. And I thought like even my speech was hampered a little bit. My sister, as a result of watching American TV for many years, she developed an American accent as a young child. So people were wondering where that came from. So that was basically it as a childhood. Because I was a little behind, I think, or immature socially, it kind of drew to me some unwanted attention from people who wanted to remind me that I was immature. So I was bullied a fair bit during the early years in school.
Oh.
But around age 13, 14, all of a sudden it hit me. I got extremely self-conscious about how I sounded to people, how I looked, and how I came across to them. And I responded to that by just clamming up. I really did not speak unless I was spoken to. And I kind of took a backseat approach to life and you know, in all aspects, at school, in social settings. And I changed from being very, you know, outward focused to become an inward focused until I reached a point in my career when I was involved with, say, the labor movement, where I actually had to go out and start speaking to people on many different levels about many different things. I noticed that there were some individuals who it seemed no problem whatsoever. They could just start talking and it sounded like they woke up that way. And other people, it was a struggle. And there was good people involved, people, you know, their hearts in the right place, hard workers, but you get them in front of an audience, you get them in front of a television camera or even a small group of people, they came across less than effective. So I think at that point, I really became obsessed with, well, personal development, but more in the field of communication. How can I come across more effectively and leave the impression that I want to leave with people rather than having that impression be decided by default?
That's impressive that at such a young age, you made the link of the perception people would have of you based on how you express yourself. Though pretty good. Maybe you did learn something on TV when your mom could do it.
I don't think it came from TV, honestly.
I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Yes. Okay, so at this point, so you were already aware of this whole wanting to become a better communicator. What was a turning point that made you decide to go visit a public speaking club for the first time?
Well, I think it was more or less along the journey of personal development as a whole. I studied a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming, and I think becoming a trainer, I wanted to come across being very effective. And I had done a lot of work through the labor movement where I was doing press conferences and I've done presentations to district health councils and even parliamentary committees, but I always had paper and notes. And I would forget what I was reading. I'd lose myself in my notes or I couldn't read my writing. And I always wanted to improve that way. And I was always, I think it really in awe of very good speakers. So I wanted to copy that. Now, the thing is that at that time, I kind of thought that, well, it's a gift you're born with. You got the gene. You either have it or you don't. But what I learned through other sources is that it's basically a skill you can learn and develop over time. And I wanted to do that first as a trainer, but also in general, because I had the inkling at some time in the future to become a speaker. I wasn't sure when, I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I had heard of Toastmasters. And actually, before I joined, I had heard of them about 3 or 4 years ahead of time. And I called them up and it was a meeting in the evening. Well, when I started working for the federal government, we had a club on site and it was right after work at 4 o'clock. So no excuses, I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't procrastinate any further. So I stopped by and I was ready to join even before I came to the first meeting.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so you came motivated. Okay, that's excellent.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just curious to know very quickly, but sometimes people, they show up. I've interviewed some individuals, even the previous president of Toastmasters, Margaret Page, and she had said how it took her 7 months, I think, to even like start to speak or to do her icebreaker. Although, how long did it take for you to like really get your hands dirty?
Okay. Well, the thing is with public speaking, I didn't really have a fear of public speaking per se because of previous experience I've had. I maybe encountered just a little bit of anxiety before I'd speak, but nothing too seriously. But as far as speaking, I was in a club where I wasn't the best speaker. I wasn't even the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth best speaker in the club. We had that much talent. So it was on one hand very motivating and another hand very intimidating.
Yes.
To enter into a club with that many good speakers. It took me, I think, about a year before I did my first icebreaker.
Whoa.
And originally, when I joined the club, I thought, well, 6 months, I'll do 10 speeches and I'll be on my merry way. I'll be a competent communicator. But little did I know that I had to realize how uncoachable I was at that time. Because like many people, you want to go for the easy route. You know, I was looking for the shortcut method, least amount of work, and there are no shortcut methods when it comes to public speaking. For example, table topics. My very first table topic, I was up and down within 20 seconds. Horrible table topic.
By the way, for the non-Toastmasters, table topics is improvisation sessions. Okay.
That's right. Sorry about that. Okay. And so 20 seconds, I was up and down. And then after that, after I kind of got over the trauma of that, I said, okay, I'm going to try again, but at least I'm going to try to stay up for 45 seconds, and then a minute, and then 2 minutes. And then before I know it, I'm voted best table topic speaker of the evening.
Oh.
How did I get that? I don't know. And since then, there was times when I didn't get best table topic speaker when I thought I should have, but other times when I got it when I thought I didn't deserve it. So, you know, it's all perception, but I tried to avoid table topics for the longest time, and I couldn't have done more damage to myself as a speaker, because you do impromptu speaking or you rely on those skills for a lot more than just table topics. So what I used to do is I used to show up late. So all the table topics would have been distributed before I would arrive. Or I'd be the table topic.
Come on.
Or I'd be the table topic master where I would dish it out, but I didn't have to take it. But eventually, you kind of get over it, and you kind of realize that you're not kidding anybody except yourself, and you're really shortchanging yourself. So it's like, no, I'm going to commit to doing this. And like I said, you got to get over, and I always say this about public speaking, that 20% is strategies, techniques, and tools, and 80% of it is psychology. And you can learn those tools very quickly, but it's dealing with the psychological part that takes people. That is a challenge for most people.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. Good. I'm just curious, when you started out then, did you have a mentor?
No, absolutely not. And unfortunately, I think that kind of held up my progress. And that's why I'm very passionate about mentoring in general and helping people out and giving them guidance. I think it was just the time and the place that I was very curious and I was very motivated. So I went outside of my club to get the information that I needed. Now, sometimes if there was something like I want to be a better evaluator, okay, because in Toastmasters we evaluate speeches, I would go to somebody within the club who was a good evaluator, and rather than having a formal mentorship relationship, I just say, hey, let's have a coffee and you tell me how you approach this and give me some tips on this, and kind of watch the next time I do it to see what you can recommend to me. And that's how I kind of like approach skill gathering. But also, like on the web, there is a ton of information, both within Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. And I think where a lot of people get really off the rails with the whole program is that they take a passive position to their participation within the club and their learning. They wait to be fed. Whereas I kind of went out and tried to see what it was that I can borrow from different places to incorporate into my Toastmaster career, my speaking career. And there is a ton of stuff out there. Now, I got to be honest with you, some of it's really, really rich. Some of it's not so great. But I think you have to kind of collect it all, put it on the scales and weigh it to say, okay, what is effective information or useful information? What doesn't work? And a lot of that also comes through experimentation too on the club level. And Toastmasters is the perfect place to experiment.
Yeah.
In fact, with my club, we always say that the number one rule of Toastmasters, or at least with Tunney's Toastmasters, is that there are no rules. And the second thing we say is that this is a place that is safe to fail. Think
Yeah.
of it as a lab, an experiment. Try out whatever you want to try.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm like, oof, getting all this enthusiastic here with what you're saying. I know that's the thing. People are afraid of failure. They're afraid of looking stupid. But the thing is, at Toastmasters, it is as safe as it gets, as you said, because we're all there to learn and nobody's ever going to laugh at you. So if you need to look, if you need to fail, if you need to break your face, there's the place to do it, because they'll catch you and they'll encourage you and they'll empower you and they'll give you feedback so you can do better the next time. And they're telling you, ooh, it's a wonderful, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Scott.
Yeah, and Toastmasters, it's a different type of adult education. When somebody comes through those doors, you don't know what their previous learning experience have been, what they've experienced in the workplace, growing up, even within their families. So we really create a safe environment that says, hey, you come here, you're accepted, and you are qualified. It's just, you're going to pick up as much as you can here. And, you know, that's basically it.
Yeah.
You know, to create that safety for them and make it a safe place to take risk. Yes. And as we say with Tunney's Toastmasters, there's no such thing as failure unless you totally give up.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. And speaking of the tools you mentioned to me, and you're the first person who made me, because I was like really all into Toastmasters, like starting my pathway right away. But you're the first person randomly, as I mentioned, you sent me information on Craig Valentine's 52 speaking tips. And I was like, oh my God, those are free. And it was like amazing tips, like mind blowing. And that's when I realized, oh, there's more than Toastmasters. It's because of you, Scott. And by the way, I've interviewed Craig Valentine as well. If you don't know who he is, he's the Oprah Winfrey of this public speaking world, as far as I'm concerned. So there's the interview with him if ever you're interested, after you watch this one, of course. So, okay, Scott, you work with speakers from all walks of life who are eager to learn what it takes to connect deeply with their audiences. Can you tell us what prompted you to start helping and mentoring others at that point?
Well, in life in general, okay, all the time I was going through school, my time as a teenager, as a young person in the workforce within the labor movement, is I always needed somebody, or I always wished there was somebody around to guide me, to give me advice, to kind of point me in the right direction. Now, the thing is that you have to be open to it, because looking back now, I can see that there was different individuals who had showed up in my life, but I was so jaded at the time. I thought, oh, what do you mean you see something in me? Your perception's jaded or skewed, not mine. But you know, I think that's just how I am, you know, whether it's within Toastmasters or the workplace, I'll deal with a younger employee or somebody new, kind of show them the ropes, kind of advise them what to look out for, what to avoid, what's available for them. And I think that's just in my nature in general. But within Toastmasters, I could have very easily fallen off the rails without a mentor. If it wasn't for myself, if I was a passive learner, I could have gone through the program, not get much results, and say, well, this isn't working. Is there a better way to spend my time? And just disappear. So I kind of like realized that there is a need out there, especially with pathways and the amount of information coming out there, because it is massive. And a lot of people are not used to go and looking for what they need to know, to learn, such as yourself. When you started, unless there's somebody there to say, hey, you know, I see something in you, you do have potential. Maybe you want to read this, maybe you want to look at this video, maybe you want to incorporate this into your next speech. Here's some suggestions. I think that whole idea of guidance or mentorship on some level is missing from all areas of society, on the community level, within the workplace, within families, and Toastmasters as well. But I'm hopefully, with talking to people like you and on various forums like this, I'm going to turn that around. So mentoring becomes the prime focus.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's a good thing, because one of your mentees, Maryam Ganni, recently became the District 61 champion.
Yeah.
Yes, you must be so happy and such a proud papa.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm extremely proud of her. She has a very raw talent, but she had to learn. Speaking to Toastmasters, speaking in Toastmasters contests, were is a little different than say doing a TED talk or speaking at a university or on the speaking circuit. So she had to refine her skills. But the thing that impresses me with Maryam, much more than what she's done within the program, is her work ethic. She has a real very good work ethic when it comes to developing the speech. And on this journey, we've rewritten that speech over 30 times. We lost count. We've spent hours and hours going over it, rehearsing it, fine-tuning it. So yeah, I'm extremely proud of the work Maryam's done, but I'm also not surprised because I know how much work that she put into it.
Yes. Okay, about that. Yes, I agree with you. However, I was there. Okay, Scott, I was at the Fairmont Chateau Montebello to witness all 8 contestants, fantastic contestants. And I suspect that a lot of work was put in. And I know because I know a few of them. Some of them were coached by fantastic humans, etc. So the work was put in. I think that's the beauty of Toastmasters, is that we all have our messages, right?
Yeah.
And you could have the same message. You, Scott, you have your message. Maryam has a message. I have, let's say we have the exact same message. And when we deliver it, when we share it with the world, it will come across differently because they'll be tainted. Our message will be tainted by our experiences and our life and our personalities. But I have to, she was first, Scott. She was first of 8. Yeah. All odds were against her. I don't need to tell you. First in the contest, she was not even supposed to win. There were people who were superior in terms of experience. They've been doing this for decades. They've made it to the world stage, And so maybe I hope I'm not going to get that that person what I'm saying, but I witnessed the whole thing. And I actually think it's actually a miracle that she won. I believe God got himself into the mix. But also, yes, of course, the work. Of course, you guys put a lot of work. It was a team effort, but she spoke from the heart. Her message was so memorable, Scott. Like at the end, I was speaking to a lot of people because I was asked to take pictures at the event. I took a lot of pictures on social media for this. But everybody I spoke to, I don't think that they knew that I knew her, that she was my friend, but they were always telling me, "Oh, Maryam, they remember her name, they remember her, she touched people's hearts. She touched my heart." I cried, I cried. Every time I listen to her speak, I always cry most of the time. But and the judges had no idea what was coming. So the way that they scored her delivery, that's how good and memorable. And Darren Lacroix had said that actually, because I'm part of stage, or both part of Stage Time University. He said that I don't care. Some people, they say, I'm first, never mind. It already happened to me for me to be first. And I thought, okay, forget it. There's no point. Why even bother? But the thing is, you need to be that much more memorable. If you're going to be first and still be remembered after 7 outstanding speakers spoke after you, you better be good at what you're doing. So she won because it was a selfless message. She was just trying to share a message. She was trying to touch the audience. Don't get me started. I feel very highly about Maryam Ganni. I interviewed her as well, actually. The interview is right here. But anyway, those are my thoughts, that the work is all good. I put a lot of work in previous messages. I did not make it through. Absolutely. It was not my time. There's so many different variables, but yes, you put in the work, but I think she touched the hearts of the people. Okay, I'm done.
Absolutely. So just to add one little part onto this, okay, is that you can sit back and you can say, well, Maryam did a speech about when she became legally blind and the whole process and how she responded to it. But actually, her story is your story. Her story is my story. It's everybody else's story, because it starts off about her, but it comes back to all of us. Because yes, I haven't dealt with a loss of eyesight, but I've dealt with other things. Most people have dealt with an illness. They've dealt with heartbreak. They've dealt with a lost job, some failure that they can't get over from the past. So it's kind of like, no matter what it is that you're dealing with, whether it's physical, whether it's psychological, or whatever it is, the loss of your dreams, don't lose yourself, and there is a way back. And I think that's what the underlying message of her speech was. And because she could have easily told a story of a girl who learns that she's blind and curls up and hides away from the world from the rest of her life.
Mhm.
Fortunately, in her case, that didn't happen. But, you know, I think that's where it starts off about her, but it's about all of us at the end of the day. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, God, amen. So what advice can you share with Toastmasters members who are either competing or not, or even
Yeah.
not Toastmasters members, are human, to help them on their journey to become memorable storytellers? Because everybody has a story. So what is your
Oh.
best tip for them to be memorable?
Okay. So the thing is that a lot of people discount their own personal history or what's happened to them. They think, well, it's not interesting enough. And if I tell my story and I compare it to Maryam's, well, there's no contest. That's not really true. It's one of the things you have to get over yourself about. But you can find a story and a lesson in the most mundane situations. We've all experienced, I think, at one time or another, disappointment, heartbreak, redemption, resilience. We've displayed it, learning from our mistakes. You know, in some way, shape, or form, we all have a story. In fact, I'd say we have more than one story. We have many stories. When I listened to the interview with you and Maryam, there were stories that I heard from that interview that we had never even talked about before. And I went back to her and I said, well, why didn't you use that as a speech, you know? But we all have a story. And so I'll give you an example, okay? And it's kind of like not a great example, but I got this little black 4-year-old miniature poodle called Brody. And very early in his life, Brody kind of realized that it's not cool to make a mess in the house. So we go outside. And when we go outside, I'm the responsible dog owner, okay? So I always have my little bag and I clean up after he's done. One morning, we go out and we pass by my neighbor's house where another dog had left a mess, a much bigger dog. And I walk by it and I'm disgusted. I'm thinking, how irresponsible. This guy lets his dog go over my neighbor's lawn, makes a mess, and he doesn't even pick it up. How irresponsible, how, careless. And anyways, Brody does his business. I come back, I look at the mess on my neighbor's lawn and I pick it up, get rid of it. Now, it's not my dog. It's not my mess. Technically, it's not really my problem, but I've gone from being the critic to just doing something about it. Now, that's a message that's applicable to real life because many times we are left to clean up somebody else's mess, right? Whether it's in the workplace, whether it's, at the club or whatever, there's some pile of mess that's not our problem. And we have a choice to just kind of, moan and groan about it or do just something proactive. Now, I don't think I'm going to go to heaven because of that. I don't think the universe is going to grant me some special karma because I had done that. But the thing is that, I can't even say the neighbors would return the favor for me if it was reversed. But when I took action, when I addressed that, I felt better automatically, rather than just keep it ruminating in my subconscious and in the back of my mind that, this is unfair and this is not right. And there's many times in life, many times, that we have to respond that way. But do we? So I hope the next time I come across this or something metaphorically on the same equivalent as that I'm going to take care of it, clean it up myself, rather than moaning and groaning or criticizing somebody else. So that's a very simple example, but but there's a message in it. There's a lesson.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have illustrated this better.
Okay.
Relating, picking up after a Brody's poop and actually making the world a better place by taking action. It's like, Scott, yeah. You're a genius.
But like I said, like every day, I think there's nuggets of gold that happens. And I know that Mike Carr, one of the former world champions, he encourages people 15 minutes every day to just journal. Just journal, write down. Did you hear a quote that motivated you? Was there some kind of like story, antidote, something within your day that impressed upon you? Because I think when you look back at those hold lessons that are universal lessons. And again, a lot of people can relate to it.
Yes. And that's what makes people memorable when they can relate to that adventure. I find you're just taking somebody on an adventure, essentially.
Yeah.
And oh God, so much wisdom, Scott. So much wisdom. Thank you. Okay, another question, if you don't mind me
Sure.
picking your brain.
Absolutely.
Let's
Yeah.
help the world with your tips. What is your best advice, Scott, for someone who is terrified at the thought of public speaking, or most importantly nowadays, the fear of pushing record on social media? I know people who have businesses who are
Yeah.
afraid of
Oh, yeah.
selling their own business that could put money in their pocket because they don't know how to do it or they don't think they can do it. What's your best advice?
Okay. Well, there's a different dynamic between speaking on camera and speaking in person. And when I started my public speaking journey, I spoke in person a lot. And it has not been a problem for me, but the only way that you can get over it is to really face it front on. And, you know, there are some people who will join a Toastmasters club or another organization to learn public speaking, and they go to the meetings and they kind of hope that they don't take on a role or ask to do a table topic. And I think you actually have to go against what your natural inclination is. If your inclination is to pipe down, that's the time to speak up. If there's what I always tell people I'm working with is that when table topics come up and you're asked whether you have a role or not, there's only one answer, and it's yes, every time. If a role is taken and a role is vacant, say you have a role and another role is vacant and nobody seems to be grabbing it, grab it, you know? And it's not only what you do at the Toastmaster meeting that counts, but it's in between the meetings. And a lot of people don't really think about that, but I think there's a whole other level of learning and developing that happens in between the meetings, in between your speeches, that a lot of people don't really take advantage of. So getting over your fear of public speaking, again, go on YouTube, go on Google, put fear of public speaking. You will get 1,000 philosophies on it, including the Toastmaster philosophy. But the thing is that just off the top of the bat, okay? Anytime you resist, it will persist. Okay, so first of all, you can't avoid what you're scared of or afraid of. I think that kind of works against you. You have to face it, and the only way to deal with it adequately is to approach it, find every opportunity. And if you happen to fail or do not as well as you think you should do it again. Do it again as quick as you can to get over that. Because, you know, and the same with speaking on camera. When the pandemic hit and a lot of us went to the Zoom format, I noticed at our club meetings that there was two kinds of people. Some people looked like they were a hostage. You know, my captors are holding me. They want $6 million in change. You know, and then you have other people go really close to the camera and wink at it and talk. You know, and they had a real charisma with it. But the only way you get over it is to do it again and do it again and do it again. So I know that was something I had an issue with when I first started with my podcast, was getting used to hearing myself speak and how I looked and stuff like that. But the best way to do it is not to hide away from it, but to get out again and try it as soon as you can.
Yes. It's hard, it's counterintuitive, but yes, we have to do it. That's the only way.
Extremely counterintuitive. Yeah. And there's a life coach out there. Her name is Mel Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
And she talks about this concept called the 5-second rule. And she goes, if you wait till you feel motivated to do something, you'll never do it, because you'll always have a convenient excuse or a fear telling you not to do it. But if you decide that it's something you should do, give yourself 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit the record camera. Wow. The point of no return. And then you see how you did. And then when you think you've done awful, some people will say, hey, it really wasn't that bad, and you should try this and try that. And then that's how you gain proficiency over, the years and the months. Yeah.
I love that. It's like the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. We used to do when we were in elementary school.
Exactly.
I like that
Yeah.
second rule. It's like, just do it. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, please can you let us know what has been the best lesson you've learned about yourself on your whole Toastmasters or speaking journey, please?
Okay. Well, there's been a couple. First of all, I learned that whole idea of speaking being a special gift, only affordable or given to the fortunate few is not true. It's a skill you can learn, and it's a skill you can develop, and you can go from just being ordinary or an interesting speaker to a very interesting speaker if you're willing to put in the work for it. The other thing that I learned is that really, and this is kind of like a general thing, is that human potential is unlimited. And I've done things within Toastmasters that I never thought I would be able to do. And I think in life, it applies to other aspects. I did not learn a second language, my French, until I was much older in life. And I thought, the boat had sailed, there's no way I'm going to go learn how to speak French. But because I developed certain communication strategies within Toastmasters, I was able to apply that eventually for the interview in French that I had, where they gave us the assessment. So I know on TV, there's this commercial by Scotiabank that says you're richer than you think you are. Well, you're also more talented than you think you are. You're more smarter than you think you are. And you're more stronger than you think you are. And whatever you think is my limit that I've tapped out at, you can go so much further. I got a book here. And I think, like, if you're a coach, whether you're a mentor, a trainer, a parent, this is called Mindset.
Okay.
It's by a woman called Carol Dweck. And what she was a researcher. And she wanted to research why was it that some kids did well in school and other kids did not. Classic question. And it wasn't the IQ of the kid. It wasn't the parental support. It was not the quality of the teachers or the school or the curriculum that was a factor, even though they are important to a certain degree. But what she found out basically is that there was two types of mindsets. There is the growth mindset that believes that potential is unlimited, that with enough time and enough effort, you can learn practically anything in the world. The opportunities are limitless. And there was the fixed mindset. Fixed mindset says you can only do good to such a level, and then you tap out, you plateau. And what she did is she gave these kids puzzles and problems that were a little bit higher than their level. Now, the kids with the fixed mindset, when they encountered that struggle, they gave up. They got angry, they cried, they just shut down. Where the kids with the growth mindset, the tougher the puzzle or the problem was, the more they dug into it. And some kids really rolled up their sleeves and they said, wow, I really like a challenging problem. And they found that applies not only to school, but really all aspects of a life. There's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset when it comes to marriage and relationships, when it comes to education, your career, your physical body. So really, whatever you think is your best, you can outdo that at any time. Just a side story, most of our listeners probably know who Wayne Gretsky is, right? His third year in the NHL, he won all these awards, he broke all these records, and he was being interviewed on W5. And they said, well, how do you think you're going to do next year? He goes, next year, I'm going to do even better than I did this year. And they thought, wow, this guy is either crazy or he's extremely arrogant. But the thing is that he was accurate. That year, he went and he broke even the records that he set. So there is no limit, okay? The only limits we have are the limits within our mind. But the question is that, are you going to listen to the growth mindset and take on that attitude, or the fixed mindset? And the beauty of Toastmasters, other than the leadership, other than the communication, the public speaking aspect, which are really byproducts of the program, I think it is basically about developing on a consistent basis that growth mindset.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I'm going to be watching this interview on repeat. This is so good. And I will be putting the references to the books in the description below. I have not read it because right now I'm on a mission
yeah.
to put so much. There's so many amazing tips out there. Not to get me started on all the books I'm reading, but right now I'm reading The One Thing by Gary Keller. Fantastic book. And then I have another one there, but I'm going to add this one in one of my list of. But thank you so much for that, because that's how we can expand. There are people who are very knowledgeable, who did the work, who learned, talking about mentorship. They're like literally putting their gold into our pockets with their. So yeah, we need to use those tools. So thank you so much for that.
Another one which I've just knocked off is this one. It's called High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. And it is incredible. And especially if you're in the field of education or you want to become a mentor, it's a really good book to read. A lot of very good ideas to develop as a mentor, but also to have the people you're mentoring start to be open to accepting. So another good book. And I'm not being paid by Brendan or Carol.
Yeah, I know this is just purely sharing the love here. It reminds me of the Atomic Habits. Also, did you read Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits. Not yet. It's on my list.
Yeah, yes. Make sure to read it, because I'll read yours. You should read that one. Very good. Okay, Scott, you're the host of your own podcast called Table of Mentors.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what made you decide to start that adventure, and what is it that you want to accomplish with your podcast?
Okay. So there's a couple of things. I was always intrigued with the idea of starting a podcast of one type or another. But I think it was maybe 4 years ago, I thought that the district or Toastmasters should come up with a podcast for mentors, because I'm passionate about the subject, but I feel that there's not really a lot out there. So what I want to do in general is I want to increase the dialogue on mentoring within District 61 and outside of District 61. So this has always been stirring in the back of my mind. And this is the other thing. You'll have many good ideas. Don't wait for somebody to say, start it to act on it right away. But I went to the district director, Amy Campbell. Love the woman. And I said to her, I think it would be a really great idea if somebody started a podcast on mentoring. It would really help out the clubs. And she goes, yeah, I agree. She goes, why don't you do it? Now, that's not what I was expecting. I went in to drop this idea on Amy and have Amy take care of it and find somebody to do it. And she kind of turned it around on me. She said, great idea. Why don't you do it? So I thought, because if you wait for somebody else to do it, it probably won't get done, or it will be done not the way you expected. So I thought, why not? And it took me a while to get going, and a lot of bumps, and it's been a learning process. But we want to identify the issues that there are with mentoring. Now, the podcast I had with you was a little different. I was trying to show people that, ironically, you could be successful without a mentor, and this lady has done it, and look what she's doing now, which has been incredible. But, in general, I wanted to kind of like raise or put mentoring on the radar. So a lot of many clubs say it's a great idea, but we don't have time. And I'm saying, well, it's worth it. It's worth the effort. And also the other thing is that it's not as difficult and time consuming as you think it is. So we had different guests talking about different aspects of it. And the great thing about entering into the podcast world now is that I'm using skills I haven't used before. I'm developing skills maybe I didn't realize I had. And the thing is that, if you're a mentor, it's really good to get yourself in the position of a newbie doing something new for the first time. So you don't lose that empathy you have for a new member. And they're saying, I don't know if I could do a tabletop. I don't know if I could do my icebreaker. Because I think as we become successful within the program, we kind of lose that understanding what it's like to be new, trying something new. So this kind of shakes us up a little bit. It's a good reminder.
Yes. I totally agree with you. And I suspect that our retention rates and even our, not subscription, the people who sign up to a Toastmaster would actually increase if we had a solid mentorship, mentorship. And I think that the clubs who do the best are the ones who have a solid mentoring program in there.
Well, it's no mistake. If you look at club success, the clubs that are consistently successful year after year, they're getting president distinguished, they have mentoring programs. The other clubs, it's hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Scott, it is obvious that you care a great deal about the organization.
Yeah.
Can you share, from a place of love and growth mindset,
Yeah.
3 improvements that you think Toastmasters can make that would take the organization from here to there?
Okay. Number one, I think at minimum, we have to get our members at least trained and qualified to speak to people outside of Toastmasters about Toastmasters. We've all heard that saying that it's the best kept secret. It doesn't have to be. But the thing is, ironically, is how do we describe this unique experience to somebody who's never heard of Toastmasters before, who have no idea of what we do? So that's the first objective, to develop like a path, a project, or something for that. The second thing I would suggest is to really concentrate on this new medium, the medium you and I are doing. How can we present on camera, online? How can we do it effectively? What are the factors that go into making a successful recording versus an unsuccessful recording? So we just don't have somebody hitting the button and saying record and they have a mess behind them in the background, or they have enough lighting or not enough lighting, or whatever the case may be. What is it specifically did they have to do to become really good, really effective online? The third thing, again, comes to the mentoring. There is a casual, we're in full agreement. Mentoring is needed within the district, within Toastmasters, but I think we need a more discussion on it in general, because there used to be this old perception of, I'm a mentor, I've been in Toastmasters for 20 years, and a lot of people can't see themselves being a mentor because they compare themselves to the old idea of what a mentor was, and they think, I'm not qualified. But really, all you have to be is just a little bit more knowledgeable, a little more qualified than the person that you're showing, whatever it is you're showing to. So, for example, let's take word of the week. Patricia, I'm sure you've done it a number of times. If nothing else, you're qualified to show somebody and give feedback to somebody how to do the word of the week. Now that's a very simple example, but once they have mastered, now they're qualified to show somebody else. So you don't have to know everything about Toastmasters. You don't have to be a DTM. You don't have to have gone in 20 contests, on the world's level or the district level to qualify as mentor, but you have to care. You have to really encourage people, because a lot of people who come through those doors, you don't know what they've come in with, what baggage they're carrying. And a lot of people I find, I've never found somebody, and I kind of listen to them and I say, oh, I don't even know what they're doing here. A lot of people are actually better than what they think they are, but they need that affirmation, big time. And, if nothing else, just to say, hey, you're on the right track. I see potential in you, and I see you. And here's a few things that can help you, that I think that will help you. And I think if it's one thing we're missing within Toastmasters, it's those individual conversations of encouragement to people. I worked with a lady. She started maybe 5-7 years after I did, and she went all the way to be a DTM. And
DTM is Distinguished Toastmaster, by the way.
Yes, yeah, highest level within Toastmasters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And at times I had to ask myself, who's mentoring who? But the thing is that during that journey, there was maybe half a dozen times she came close to quitting, and probably would have quit and left if it wasn't for a conversation that we had, just to get her refocused, kind of, affirm that she was on the right path. And whatever she was facing, was just temporary and, it was worth pursuing. There are many examples like that, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. We have had, within our own club, we had somebody who is from a different culture who joined us. And I said to her, let's talk. I want to see what you're interested in, and she said to me, thank God you talked to me because I was thinking about quitting. I wasn't sure if I was being accepted by this club. And I thought, wow, like we could have lost her. But after we had that conversation, she changed like that, more engaged in the club, took risks, taken on roles, and took on a life of itself. Now, if that conversation never happened, we could have lost her, and potentially, somebody would go and say Toastmasters was a negative experience. I didn't think they cared, didn't think they were interested in me. Mm-hmm. So if you want to look at retention, you have to see where everybody is. And yeah, it does take a little bit of effort, but the payoff is humongous.
Yes, it is. Oh, wow. Oh, we're nearing the end of this. And I could keep you here forever still, but
oh, absolutely.
I want to be conscious of the poor, people they have to get back to their life. So what is the next step for Scott McLaughlin, please?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I think I'm going to continue on with the Table of Mentors podcast for a little while, and we'll go see what kind of reception we get. I'm also looking on to develop a product for the different clubs. It's called Mentor in a Box, and it consists of tips, insights, discussions to have in the context of mentoring. So they can start thinking about it, to put it on their radar for the future, and start planning to developing strong mentoring systems within their clubs. So that's the first thing. Second thing I want to do is I'm recently retired from the federal government. So I want to really pursue and see what it is that I previously thought I could not do or was impossible, just to prove myself wrong by actually doing it. Mm-hmm. So I've been given like a whole door open wide of opportunities, and I'm just waiting to see what there is next to explore. I'm always looking for that new mountain, new challenge.
Yes, because you have a growth mindset, Scott.
Well, yeah, I didn't always have it, but once you get it, yes. It opens doors for you. And the fixed mindset closes doors. Growth mindset opens many doors.
Yes. Anyway, I wish you all the wonderful adventures in the world. Whatever you need to go, I just hope that you get there and you just try. Just try it. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And in fact, I think it was Mark Twain who said that the only thing you regret in life is the books you did not read and the times you did not try.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. From Jim Rohn. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, those regrets. I see a lot of people. Most of my life I was living in regret. So I do know the moment that you can free yourself of that and just throw yourself at life, it's just the most liberating thing that can happen to somebody. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to see what happens with you in the future. I think you have this podcast has been fantastic. I'm a frequent watcher. I'm a big fan, and I'm interested to see what you do in the future with Toastmasters.
Thank you so much. You're always so encouraging, Scott. Thank you. Well received. Time will tell. I'm putting in the work, and let's see where that goes. But I'm having a very good time in the meantime, meeting amazing people.
Yeah.
Sometimes people they complain about the world, the state of the world, everything's going down the drain and whatever, but there's so much light when you put yourself in environments such as Toastmasters or healthy environments. There are great people everywhere in the world. I've met people from on all continents, and we're still in touch. And when we just seek out wonderfulness, it's out there. And you're one of those humans. I'm so happy, so grateful that I met. And thanks to you, I met Maryam, and she's like the greatest soul on earth. So I'm very, very thankful for having met you.
As Maryam said, where are you pointing your straw? What direction are you pointing your straw?
Yes. Yeah, towards goodness. And finally, if someone in the audience would like to know more about you, contact you, or they would like to book you for a consultation, what is the best way?
Well, they can reach me through Facebook, Scott McLaughlin, or they can reach me through my club, Tunney's Toastmasters, Tunney's Toastmasters at gmail.com. Or the simplest way to get me is this email, start with Scott, all one word, at gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow. Let me share my main takeaways. So many things. I'll try to not take 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. First thing, if you don't know where to begin, get a mentor. Get someone who has been there before who can help you. If you don't have the information, you don't know where to start, get information that you need to succeed. Put in the work. Put in the work. Keep working at it. It will give you an advantage. And if you want to be a memorable speaker, make your message relatable so that the people you're speaking to can connect with it. And everybody has a story. We all have a story to share. Find a story in the most mundane and just spin it whichever way you want. And if you're facing a wall, face it head on. Okay, go against the grain. Speak up. Say yes, even if you want to say no sometimes, so that you can push yourself. And if you don't know, again, go on YouTube, Google, get the information that you need. I really like when you said, every time you resist, it will persist. So don't resist it, just go at it. And find every opportunity to address your fear. Use the 5 seconds rule from Mel Robbins. And the last one that I really enjoyed, have a growth mindset. Do not stay stuck within a fixed mindset. Woo, my goodness. Scott, any parting words or last story you'd like to share with us, please?
Well, again, I will repeat what I said earlier, that truly potential is unlimited. And the only breaks that there are, or limits that we have, is what we accept in life. I think it was Malcolm X who said that what you do not hate, you accept. Yeah. So kind of think about that and kind of apply it to your life, because there's two roads that we can take. We can take the easy road, or we can take the more challenging road. But the more challenging road, I tell you, is more scenic, and it will open doors for you.
Yes. Oh, Scott, what a pleasure it has been to talk with you.
Likewise.
Thank you for your time. You're just a wonderful human. Keep doing what you're doing and helping others, and so selflessly. The world needs more people like you.
And you. Yeah.
Thank you. Dear friend, thank you for watching. I hope you feel as uplifted and encouraged to just do it. And I will leave you with this. The power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. See you in this video. Bye.
Bye-bye.